trying to avoid pain. Avoiding failure, trying to avoid pain. Avoiding failure, avoiding rejection. Avoiding the feeling that we're not good enough. We try to make everything fine. But what if that discomfort is actually the door? The ancient philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Socrates, they didn't write their words to make you feel comfortable. They wrote to wake you up. And those quotes, they hurt. But if you're brave enough to sit with them, they'll heal you. In this video, we're going to break down 5 deep quotes from ancient philosophers. Quotes that force you to face the truth. And most importantly, I'm going to pick 2 of them that are the most practical, along with specific, clear exercises you can start today. Not just something that sounds good, not just motivation, real change. Let's begin. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. Here's a truth most of us don't want to hear. The thing you're trying to avoid is exactly the thing you need to step into. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "Get past the obstacle." He said, "The obstacle is the path." It sounds like a paradox, but that's the core of Stoicism. We often think life will really start when things get smoother, when we have more money, when our job is stable, when we feel more confident, when other people finally approve of us. But life doesn't wait until you're ready. It's happening right now, inside the very things that make you uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius wrote this in Meditations, not while relaxing, but while he was in the middle of war, leading an empire, facing war, disease, and betrayal. He realized one thing: obstacles don't block the path, they shape you. Hardship forces you to become more patient, more creative, calmer, more disciplined, and more honest with yourself. Without obstacles, you don't grow, you just exist. And here's the painful part. We usually pray for an easier road, when what we really need is to become stronger. It's uncomfortable because it takes away the victim role. You can't keep saying, "It's the circumstances, it's that person, it's just bad timing." If the obstacle is the way, then it didn't show up to destroy you. It showed up to build you. And that means you have to step into it. No avoiding, no procrastinating, no complaining. Just step in. Now, instead of just listening and nodding, we're going to do something practical. Light. Not changing your life overnight. Just starting to see things a little differently. Tonight, or right after this video, do one simple thing. Grab a piece of paper. Write down one obstacle you're dealing with. Be as specific as possible. For example, I got rejected in an interview. I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm struggling financially. My relationship is falling apart. Then right underneath, write, what kind of person is this obstacle forcing me to become? Don't write something just to write it. Sit with it. For example, if you got rejected, it's forcing you to improve your skills. If you're short on money, it's forcing you to manage it better. If your relationship is cracking, it's forcing you to communicate more maturely. This is when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "Who is this training me to become?" Stoics don't just endure hardship, they train on purpose. You can start very small. Take a cold shower for 30 seconds. Practice saying no when you don't want to say yes. Wake up 20 minutes earlier. Do the hardest task first. Why? Because every time you step into a little controlled discomfort, you teach your brain, "I'm not afraid of difficulty." And slowly, when real difficulty shows up, you don't panic anymore. You've trained yourself to walk into the fire. Remember this: if you avoid the obstacle today, it comes back bigger tomorrow. But if you step into it today, tomorrow you'll be smaller than it. And that was only the first quote. The next one is even more brutal. Do you want to keep going? He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. Seneca. Let me ask you something straight. Do you really fear death? Or do you fear failure, being judged, being embarrassed? Seneca talks about death. But in modern life, what we fear isn't a coffin. We fear rejection, being laughed at, being told we're not good enough, losing security. And because we're afraid, we shrink ourselves. We choose safety. We choose silence. We choose whatever. And then we call that stability. Seneca isn't telling you to be reckless. He's talking about something deeper, the fear of losing control. In Stoicism, death is something you can't control, so fearing it is pointless. But what's more dangerous? Living like you have endless time. You procrastinate. Once I'm more prepared, once I have more money, once I feel more confident. And the years pass. Seneca is reminding us, if you're too afraid of losing what you already have, you'll never dare to live bigger than yourself. It hurts because it touches the truth. A lot of people don't die from accidents. They die from delay. A potential version of you, the one who dares to say what needs to be said, dares to try what needs to be tried, dares to walk away from what no longer fits, is being held back by you because of fear. And every time you choose safety over courage, you trade aliveness for mere existence. Heavy, right? But here's the healing part. When you accept that time is limited, everything becomes clear. You stop wasting energy on drama. Stop trying to please everyone. Stop delaying what matters. You start living on purpose. Now, instead of hearing this as a threat, we're going to turn it into a tool. Very gentle, very practical. It sounds dark, but slow down. Every morning, before your day begins, ask yourself, if today were my last day, would I do this differently? No need for some deep philosophical answer. Just be honest. For example, would you still put off that important phone call? Would you still stay silent in a meeting when you know you have a good idea? Would you still let your ego stop you from apologizing? The point isn't to live in fear. The point is to live with priorities. Courage isn't jumping off a cliff. It's small actions every day. For the next 7 days, do one thing each day that scares you just a little. Very small. Send the email with your idea. Post something that shares your real opinion. Say no to an invitation you don't want to go to. Start the project you've been putting off. Each action sends a signal to your brain. I'm not here to avoid life. I'm here to experience it. And slowly you realize, death isn't the scariest thing. Living without daring to live, that's scarier. If you knew you only had 1 year left, what would you change first? Keep that question in your mind, because the next quote we're about to discuss won't let you hide from yourself anymore. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Socrates. Here's a tough truth. Most of us think we understand ourselves, but really, we only understand the version of ourselves we want to believe. Socrates didn't say, learning a lot is the start of wisdom. He didn't say, degrees and achievements make you wise. He said, know yourself. And that is more dangerous than you think. Socrates' philosophy revolves around one thing: asking questions. Not questioning other people first, questioning yourself. Why did I react like that? Why am I angry? Why am I jealous? Why do I fear being judged? Wisdom doesn't start with having answers. It starts with having the courage to face what's true inside you. And the truth is, a lot of your decisions don't come from reason. They come from ego, old wounds, the need for approval. But you call it, I'm just protecting myself. It hurts because it takes away the illusion. You can't keep blaming circumstances once you start seeing your own patterns. For example, you say you're unlucky in love, but you keep choosing the same type of person. You say you don't fit the corporate environment, but you hate being corrected. You say you have no motivation, but really, you're afraid of failing. Knowing yourself isn't pink, feel-good self-love. It's self-honesty. And only when you're honest do you earn the right to change. Socrates once said he was wiser than others for one reason: he knew that he didn't know. We often get defensive when we're criticized. We react when our pride gets touched. We try to prove we're right. But if you have the courage to say, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't fully understand, maybe I'm reacting because of an old wound, that's when wisdom begins. In the age of social media, everyone has opinions. Everyone wants to be right. But very few people want to ask themselves, do I believe this because it's true, or because it makes me feel safe? Knowing yourself helps you not get emotionally manipulated, not get dragged into drama, not depend on validation. And most importantly, you stop living on unconscious autopilot. Think back to the last time you overreacted to someone. You got angry, you got defensive, you shut down. Now ask, did it really come from the situation or from the fear of being disrespected? Socrates doesn't give you a success formula. He gives you a mirror, and not everyone can stare into it for long. Do you truly know yourself? Or are you just used to the story you tell about yourself? Hold that question, because the next quote hits another illusion. The illusion that everything will always be there, waiting for you. No man ever steps in the same river twice. Heraclitus. Let me say something you might not want to hear. The thing you're trying to hold on to has already changed. Heraclitus wasn't talking about a river literally. He was talking about change. The one thing that never changes. You can't step into the same river twice because the water has already moved on. And you're not the same person you were a moment ago either. But here's the problem. We live as if everything will stay the same. Heraclitus believed the nature of the universe is movement. Everything is flowing. Your youth, your opportunities, your relationships, your emotions, and you. But humans cling. We want good feelings to last forever, the people we love to never change, our careers to stay stable forever, our best version to never fade. But life doesn't work that way, and the more you fight change, the more you suffer. It hurts because it forces you to accept you can't go back. Not back to being 20, not back to the early days of a relationship, not back to the carefree version of you. A lot of our pain comes from trying to recreate the past, But healing is here. When you accept that everything is changing, you start appreciating the present. You stop delaying love. Stop waiting for someday to chase what matters. Stop assuming opportunities will always wait. We always tell ourselves, there's time. I'll do it later. Tomorrow isn't too late. But the truth is, today's version of you will never come back. Today's opportunity won't carry the same energy tomorrow. The river is moving. The question is, are you standing there watching, or are you stepping in? In the modern world, change is even faster. Technology changes, markets change, people change. If you cling to the old way just because it feels familiar, you'll get left behind. But if you understand change is natural, you become flexible. You don't panic when things shift. You adapt. And adaptation is a form of strength. Think about something you regret. A person, an opportunity, a moment. Now ask yourself, do you regret that it disappeared? Or that you didn't fully live when it was still there? Heraclitus didn't write to make you sad. He wrote to wake you up. Because when you realize no river repeats, you start walking with more awareness. If everything is flowing away day by day, then the final quote asks something even deeper. Are you suffering because of reality or because of your imagination? Let's go to quote 5. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Pause for a second. The last time you worried about something, was it really as bad as you imagined? Or did most of that pain happen in your head? Seneca isn't saying suffering is fake. He's saying most of it is exaggerated by imagination. And if you're honest, you'll see it's true. Humans have a superpower: imagination. But here's the problem. We use it to create worst-case scenarios. What if I fail? What if they think I'm stupid? What if everything falls apart? Your brain doesn't clearly separate real danger from imagined danger. It reacts like it's happening right now. Your heart races. You tense up. You can't sleep. While in reality, nothing has happened yet. It hurts because it makes you realize, a lot of the time, you're the one creating your suffering. Not because reality is that terrible, but because you're telling yourself a terrifying story. You turn an unanswered email into, they hate me. You turn a small mistake into, I'm useless. You turn a difficult conversation into, everything is about to end. The truth is, reality is usually way more neutral. It's the story you add that creates the suffering. And here's the healing part. If imagination can create suffering, it can also create strength. Stoic philosophers don't avoid fear. They analyze it. They ask, what's the worst that could happen? And if it really happened, would I survive? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Not easy, but yes. And when you face the worst-case scenario directly, it loses half its power. Now we do something very specific. Next time you feel anxious about something, write 3 columns. Column 1, what I'm afraid of. Column 2, real evidence for it. Column 3, the most likely outcome. Example, fear, I'm going to get fired. Evidence, my boss never said that. It was just a small piece of feedback. Most likely, I may be asked to improve, not fired immediately. When you force fear through the filter of reason, it shrinks. A lot of people live more in the future than in the present. They worry about what hasn't come. fear what hasn't happened, prepare for disasters that don't exist yet, and then they miss today. Seneca is reminding us, the present is where life happens, not in the movie you're playing inside your head. Right now, what are you worried about? Ask yourself, is this fear coming from reality or from the story I'm telling myself? If you pause, breathe, and observe, you'll see. So much of your pain is just the shadow of your thoughts. We've gone through 5 quotes. The obstacle is the way. Fearing death keeps you from living. Knowing yourself is the start of wisdom. Everything is always changing. And most suffering lives in imagination. But the real question is, are you just going to listen and think it sounds deep? Or are you going to live it? In the next part, we're going to connect all of this, and you'll see why these quotes aren't just for reflection. They're for training. There's one thing I want you to remember after this video. Ancient quotes don't exist to make you feel smarter. They exist to make you live differently. The obstacle is the way. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. No man ever steps in the same river twice. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. These lines aren't gentle. They don't comfort you. They challenge you. And if you really listen, you'll realize Stoicism doesn't teach you how to escape life. It teaches you how to walk straight into it. Pick one quote from the 5 today, just one, and apply it for the next 7 days. You don't need to change your whole life. Just change the way you respond to one obstacle, one fear, one negative thought. Big change always starts with something small, done consistently. If this video made you think, don't just watch and move on. Hit like so more people can access these values. Subscribe to Stoic Quotes if you want a weekly reminder on how to live stronger, calmer, and deeper in a noisy world. And in the comments, I want to hear from you. Which quote hit you the hardest? And how are you going to apply it this week? I read them all. See you in the next Stoic Quotes video. Stay steady, stay aware, stay stoic.